Welcome back to the Oilers Rig Radio, brought to you by Production. Welcome back. Jeez, it's not like I just came from a commercial break. Son of a... Anyway, I'm going to leave it. Welcome to the Oilers Rig Radio. I'm Sean, your host. The Oilers Rig Radio is brought to you by Production 71. Production 71 does all kinds of different media content. For example, they do promo videos for your website. They can do 3D animation. They can come up with promotional training videos, safety videos, online training material. If you're interested in any of that stuff, go to production71.com. And I'm back in Dan's garage, and I think this is the first episode we've done since the Muddy Oil got knocked out by the thieves.
Yeah. But first of all, that Production 71 sounds awesome. I'm going to call them tomorrow, I think.
Well, we got to pay the bills.
That's right. Yeah. Here we are, a few weeks later. We're already into the finals. I think we're past Game 4 in the Stanley Cup Finals, and every time I turn on the TV to watch, I just think, it should be the Oilers. But
I think our time's coming.
Yeah.
Before we get started here, Dan, a couple things I wanted to start with. First thing is, as I was telling you before we started recording, my daughter spent from late Saturday night till this morning at the Stollery. She had a pretty bad bike accident, but I just wanted to mention the Stollery because you said you spent some time there as well, and it's a pretty amazing place, and the staff there is just unreal. Unreal
that we have, we're fairly lucky, you know. We talk about the weather in Edmonton, and there's nothing to do in Edmonton, and which is, as we know, complete BS, especially at this time of year. But we're so lucky for those of us with kids, and when we were kids even, to have a facility like that, and some of the country's best pediatric care. So, yeah. Unfortunately, I've never needed to use the Stollery. I have been there. My wife's cousin's son had some heart surgery there, and we went there to visit him, and just an amazing place. I hope I never have to use it, but pretty much when I donate money, the first thing I'm thinking about donating is the Stollery. So
yeah, I mean. I should mention that my daughter's okay. She's home now, but I just wanted to mention that. I mean, this is an Edmonton-based podcast. I'm sure most of the people that listen to this thing probably are from Edmonton, and there's probably some that have kids as well. So, yeah. Just a big thank you to the Stollery.
Yeah, thanks for everybody who works there.
Now, I got another story for you. This is today. So, I can't run as much as I normally do, or at all right now, because I've got this plantar fasciitis in my foot. So, I got a membership to the service place in St. Albert, and I'm doing different types of training. And today was day one of the new routine, so I went up there. It's middle of the afternoon, and there's a track on the third floor there. And in the corners, they've got one's bikes, and there's some weights and stuff. And I was in one corner with the weights. And there was Colton Parenko was working out there today. No, I'm not a big Gaga guy about if I see an NHL player. But the only reason I bring it up is so he's doing his routine, and there's a couple other kids doing some free weight stuff. But this routine is kind of like this cross training thing. And normally when I run really long distances, my heart rate's probably between max maybe 145, so 120 to 145 while I'm running. Unless there's a big hill or something. Well, this stuff is getting my heart rate like 160, 170, 180. So I'm doing the routine in the corner with the weights and stuff, and just like back in hockey tryouts, I felt like, oh God, I'm going to puke. And there's a garbage can over where he's working out, and I'm like, I'm not going to puke there. But I'm looking around, I'm looking for another garbage can, and I remember, okay, I'll go to the next corner of the track. So I kind of just sped walk down the side, about to duck into that corner. There's a pretty attractive girl there. So I'm like, I can't puke there. So then, I round the corner, just picture like Olympic I'm
Yeah.
like right, but then there's a bathroom at that corner right by the stairs. I thought perfect noise in the bathroom. Go and lock the door, puke my guts out, and then I had to walk back over to what I was doing, acting like nothing had happened. You know, like
Yeah.
anyway. I don't know why I brought that up, but I suppose because there's an NHL player and we're talking about hockey. So
Yeah.
now,
Big boy, hey? Colton,
yeah, he definitely
how
taught
do you
me.
say his last name? Perienko?
Parenko?
Yeah, Parenko maybe? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Anyway, yeah. Last podcast, we had sort of a video review portion where Milk Money from the gal from the Black Eyed Peas, what's her name? Fergie.
Fergie, yeah.
And then you,
Great video. I've shown a few people that video since.
right?
Rave reviews, yeah.
Yeah. But and then you threw down the Nicki Minaj after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which again,
Anaconda.
bananas on the turntable. I mean, that was just.
Check it out.
Yep. Where was I going to put the hell? Oh, well, I mentioned to you that there's sometimes you realize like you're in the parent bubble, and you just forget what's going on around you, and you realize that at a certain point, like popular culture for you just kind of stopped because you're like, you know, Dora and whatever, right?
Yeah, like right now, my pop culture is Mickey Mouse and Chuggington.
Oh, wait
You
till it gets
know?
to be Peppa Pig.
Yeah, well, no, Peppa Pig
Okay.
was like a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's still stuff being, but we just don't have the bandwidth right now to sort of see it and, you know, be right on top of what's going on. So I was just now at night because because like Barbie show was on or Rescue Bots or something. I can't do it. So I go into my office and watch, and a lot of times end up on YouTube. So anyway, I found this other video, which unfortunately there's no, I don't believe there's any really busty women in it. But it's just another one with a bunch of my favorite like actors and stuff in it that I wanted to show you and see if you'd heard of it.
Okay.
So that's why I loaded up the YouTube on your laptop and then closed the thing on you.
You want me to do it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I got to pause this right because for copyright. So Dan, I know there was no breasts really in that one, but what did you think? So I had him watch the Beastie Boys video, "Make Some Noise." Did you? And that apparently we just looked it up. 2011 it came out. Had you heard of that before?
No, I had not. I'm not a huge Beastie Boys fan, but I mean, I'm familiar with them and have seen who doesn't know the song "Fight for Your Right" or...
See, I was a Beastie Boys fan, and I like most of the guys in the video. So in the video, there's all kinds, and if you've already seen it, because Dan and I are just really old, and 2011, so 6 years.
In our parent bubble.
Yeah, in our parent bubble. But Frodo is in there.
Yeah.
One of the main guys with Danny McBride, Seth Rogen. Who else do we notice in there?
Well, those are the three main characters
Yeah.
in the video, and then I mean throughout the video, every single human in that video is famous. I couldn't name them all. I mean, lots of Saturday Night Live.
Mayday
people.
Malone.
Yeah, there was Will Ferrell was in it. So yeah, like that's a great video.
And you hadn't heard that either.
Nope.
See, and I got married. Met my wife 2009, married 2010, and then 2011 when that came out. Yeah. Never since then. Because normally I would have that would have been something I'd been like, well, about. Now, nah.
Yeah.
Find out about 7 years later, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's right. Now there's only so much room for extracurricular activity now, right?
Well, now it's just like my life is consumed by like how many get rid of those goddamn dandelions. Like that's.
Hey, I got a perfect solution for you.
Is this for the dandelions?
Yes.
Let's move on. We don't want to talk about dandelions.
Okay.
But it's true. I'm attacking them right now. It seems to be working. Anyway, we haven't done a quiz question for a while. I was unprepared the last time, so I got one for you. And this is what we call in the business a segue. It blends into what I want to
All right.
talk about next. So the quiz question is, who was drafted first overall in 2001? I'm gonna have to edit out part of this pause. It's a long one.
Yeah. I should know this, but that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kovalchuk. And the reason why
I was thinking him, but I thought that was too early.
and the reason why I bring him up because apparently he's coming back to the NHL next season.
Right.
Is any, like if they traded him or they haven't done anything with him yet?
Not that I've heard, no.
Because I'll be honest with you, like since the others got knocked out, I really haven't been paying a heck of a lot.
Oh, I
of
pay attention. Yeah.
I know you. I mean,
There's, yeah.
and interestingly enough, out of the 2001 draft, this is random, so just guess, but who's played the most games? Has the most games played out of the 2001 entry draft? It's a defenseman. I believe he's played in Nashville and Vancouver. Where is he now?
He may be retired now, man. That was like 17 years ago.
I think he's still. I'm gonna check, but
Sorry, I don't know.
Dan Hamhuis,
Hamhuis.
and he went 12th overall, and he's played 951 games
Wow.
as of his profile today.
Wow.
Yeah. So now, obviously, I want to talk about the draft. See how
The upcoming draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now the strength.
I don't know much about. I mean,
Right? For this is the first
Yeah,
time in years, you don't have a clue.
Yeah.
I had to look some stuff up. I didn't even know where they drafted. So they drafted 22. The Oilers drafted 22.
yeah, I knew that. Same place where Eberle went.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna talk about him later.
That's
too.
actually my next bullet point. Now, what I know of this draft is it's supposed to be not kind of a weaker year, and these players are more projects, right? Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not a big follow the draft guy, like the prospects and that, so I didn't know any of these names prior to today. But is there a particular position or anything you really want to see them draft for? I mean, but really, these players are probably 3 to 5 years away at best.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've read a few things about the draft. It sounds like it's really like in the first round, it's like lots of forwards.
Yeah.
Not many defensemen at all are in that wheelhouse. I think at 22, you just got to take the best player available. Like who your scouts feel is the best player available.
I think that should be anybody's strategy for any draft, but
I mean, I think if there's a tie, right? Like there's a tie between a winger, a center, and a defenseman.
yeah, you draft a winger right now, given the current sort of makeup, I think.
Sure, yeah.
Except for, I picked out some names here, because I looked at some mock drafts online, and kind of around that 22 spot. Since the Oilers got bigger, I've really noticed the difference. So I just picked a few guys because of their size. So right around that area, around 22, there is a 6'6" defenseman by the name of Nicholas Hague.
I've heard that name, yeah.
6'6", eh? Like, I mean, what's Char, 6'7"?
Yeah.
That's a hefty guy. I believe he plays in the OHL. On the wing, there's 6'5", Nikita Popugayev. I think I nailed that. 6'5". Can you imagine a 6'5"
And
winger?
a winger? Wow.
Like what's Lucic? 6'2", 6'3"? Is he?
Yeah. Yeah. 6'4" maybe?
Now, but he's a left winger. Now, if you're drafting for a position, you might want to look in the right wing. You got 6'3" Klim Kostin. Or sorry, no, yeah. But there is a one guy out of Kelowna by the name of Cole Lind that described him one of the things he was apparently the best goal scorer in the draft. Kind of remind you of Eberle for at that position.
Yeah.
So, but that's the draft. I mean, I don't really have a lot to say. I mean, it's so bizarre. This is the first draft in 10 years that I haven't been. I literally don't care. I know Nolan Patrick, and that was it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? You're just nodding, so I'm thinking we're just moving on.
Yeah.
You got nothing?
Well, I think I'm more interested in the expansion draft, actually. Like, to be honest with you,
Okay, I think people have a morbid fascination with the expansion draft, and I'll tell you why. But you go first.
Well, it's not about the draft itself, because if the draft, the expansion draft, they're going to get a bunch of third line players, and like second pairing defensemen is what they're going to get, right? So they're not going to be good. What I'm excited for is they're going to need to they're going to need to get a top 6 forward somehow. So somehow they have to make a deal or whatever. Like I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that they're looking to trade a guy like Eberle or like, you know what I mean? Or like Patrick Marleau, apparently. Like, I'm excited to kind of see what Vegas does to shake up the league a little.
I did read it somewhere the other day. Someone say that they should be the best expansion team in terms of the roster. Because I remember we talked about in the last podcast when we thought Kelly Kissio was taking the expansion, but he actually got traded on the expansion draft day.
Yeah.
And then he went to San Jose. But I remember San Jose was like literally Kelly Kissio's the only name you vaguely recognized, and then just a whole list of who the hell is that?
Right, but you got to remember too that those expansions had multiple teams happening, right? Like, weren't there multiple teams?
Well, yeah.
Maybe the year San Jose.
Well, there's Ottawa, San Jose, Anaheim.
So
there's a bunch that all came in roughly around the same time.
You're right, though, that I think they've designed this draft to be a little harder on the current teams in the NHL so that they can field a competitive team, right?
I remember the Ottawa Senators the first year. They're like first pairing. Now, granted, this is back in the early 90s, so we didn't call things first pairing D, but their top 2 defensemen back then were Brad Marsh and former Oiler, was it Norman Kyber? Can you imagine, like, being the GM and the coach going, "Oh, Jesus."
Yeah. We got to run this guy out against Gretzky.
Oh yeah, and their big score was not Pierre but Sylvain Turgeon.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, oh, and Mark Lamb was there.
Yeah.
I think Mark Lamb was their first line center. But anyway, sorry.
I feel like Vegas is going to. They're going to do something big. Like, somehow they're going to end up with Kovalchuk. Or, like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're, whether it be free agency or expansion draft, I mean, I'm more excited to see what Vegas does with their team and shaking up the league than I am about the entry draft for the Oilers.
That I agree with. I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting day. And I think there's going to be side deals and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But looking at it from an Oilers point of view and an Oilers fan point of view, to be honest with you, other than the names that they're talking about losing, I don't care. We have to lose a player, and none of these players are all in, like, okay, so they want to make sure that they hit the cap minimum and they take Pouliot. All right. Or, God forbid, they take Griffin Reinhart. The trade was made, you like it, you don't like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, that was in the past, this is the present. They're losing the player. If they take Brossois, just hopefully they don't re-sign the monster again, and I'm all good, Like, I'm not worried about from that point of view. What do you think?
No, I listen. Everybody's going to lose a player that they don't want to lose, right? But that's just, the Oilers are in the same boat as the other 29 teams in the league, right? Like, they have to take a player from every team. One from every team.
Well, I think the one thing I'm most interested about is Pittsburgh. Because Marc-Andre Fleury has a no move, Pittsburgh has to protect him.
Yeah.
Which means Murray.
Unless they trade him first.
But he's got all the power there because he could just say, no, I don't want to be traded.
Mm-hmm.
And then that the Golden Knights are taking Murray, right? That I think is pretty fascinating. But from an Oilers point of view, it's like.
But he could also say, "Leave me unprotected you can leave me unprotected for the draft."
To who? To say it to who?
Well, like, could he not, like, if he can, like, okay a trade with a no move clause?
I don't know.
Can he not waive it?
Don't think
to be put into the draft?
I don't believe so.
Oh,
so that's why it makes it interesting.
Because he could be like, I don't mind playing in Vegas. Like, he might, who knows? Maybe that's one of the teams he's willing to go to, right? I don't know.
I can't see a veteran wanting to go to that team.
Yeah.
But yeah, that interests me. But the rest of it, I'm like, But I think you're right. I think there'd be a lot of wheeling and dealing.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's guys that maybe the Oilers really don't want to lose Reinhart, especially because, the injury to Sekera and that.
Yeah.
So they said, who knows, right?
What did he get? One playoff game? But he was actually half decent in there. Like, maybe a full year, like, What is this? What year was this in his career? 6?
Drafted the same year as Nugent Hopkins, wasn't he? I think he went 4 overall that year, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, let's look it up.
He went to the Islanders. But anyway, so, but most...
No, it was the Yakupov draft. Check it. I think it's the Yakupov.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, 6 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how long he was in the league. 5 years. That's how long he's been a professional hockey player. So, defensemen take that long to develop. Like, he was never going to be, even when they made that trade for him, a top pairing defenseman, ever. If he develops into a second pairing defenseman, that's a successful trade. But most defensemen take quite long to develop, right? So that would be the only reason why they don't want to give up on him yet, and that they may protect him or whatever. Right?
And I mean, I probably sounded like earlier that I minimized the assets that they gave up for him.
Yeah.
And I don't. And the Oilers obviously have an investment in him that they would like to, see mature. So it's very, very likely. So yeah, it was the Yakupov draft.
He's only had 3 professional seasons.
Well, he's same age as Yakupov. Yeah.
Yeah, so his rookie season as a pro was 2014-15. He's only had 3 professional seasons. And we're already ready, everybody's ready to write this guy off as what a horrible trade that was. Well, with a defenseman, you will not know until the 6th or 7th year if he works out or not, right? So that's, you may be a
Like,
little
if I'm
bit,
Vegas, I'm taking him. If he's there, I'm taking him.
I don't see why not.
Right? I mean, you have to roll that. I mean, you have to see if they can find, if they can find 3 or 4 players that can become good players for them for 4 or 5 years while they draft around them. And in order to do that, they got to take some gambles on some of the younger guys that are like a Reinhardt. I'm sure Reinhardt's not the only guy out there that's teams are considering like, well, how do we?
Well, it really seems like, I mean, his first year as a pro, he had quite a few penalty minutes in the AHL, 64. So that's a fair amount in 59 games, right? It's a penalty every 3 quarters of a game or so. But he was minus 13. Last year, he played his full season with Bakersfield. 54 games, so he must have had an injury or something in there. But he was on a non-playoff team, was +8. Like, he's developing. He probably gets another year, or 2 down in the minors before you actually can rely on him in any sort of fashion. Like Darnell Nurse is progressing obviously much faster than him and whatever else, but we won't know on this guy for another 2 years. He won't peak until probably 3 or 4 years.
No, and if you look at his, I mean, now that I think it's hard to judge a player like this by his boxcars, because you look here, what you got up on the screen. I mean, his top scoring season in junior, and this is for a 4th overall pick, is 36 points in 58 games. I mean, this guy doesn't project to have any offense, so he's purely a defenseman, in the truest sense of the word. And that takes a lot to get the foot speed, learn the positioning, because you're playing against the fastest player in the world.
Yeah.
And we know, I mean, it's been said, and I mean, I'm not the first person to say that, you have to kind of wait till they're almost 25 to see, do you really have something there?
Yep.
With a lot of these guys, right? But I think people look at the 4th overall, and then the Oilers traded their 20 pick or whatever.
Well, they traded a few picks, didn't they?
Well, but there was the first round and the second, or first and third. I mean, we could look it up, but and the big complaint I hear is because, well, the guy drafted in the first round slot that they gave up was this Matt Barzal, who hasn't played yet.
Yeah, here it is. So he was traded from the New York Islanders to the Edmonton Oilers for a first round pick in the 2015 draft. Matthew Barzal. Now, that wasn't their first pick. That was a pick that they received from another trade, right?
But it was a first-round pick at that spot.
It was, yeah. And then a second-round pick in the same draft for Mitchell Stevens. And I believe they also had other second-round picks. Like, they had a lot of picks in that draft from what I remember. Like, they also traded a bunch of picks for Cam Talbot, too, I think. Didn't they? Yeah, correct. Yeah, so... Matthew Barzal. Who?
Well, click on him.
Yeah, like...
I'm over here grabbing Uber, just click on him.
Yeah, oh, here we go.
So he hasn't played yet.
He hasn't even played in the NHL yet. He played for Seattle this year. Had an awesome year. 41 games, so he must have been injured. 10 goals, but 69 assists. Unreal.
But then you really have to see what this guy becomes, and then
right.
And there's no saying the Oilers would have taken him in that spot. But back to the expansion draft, if they lose him, it sucks.
Yeah.
But everyone's losing the player.
Yeah.
So
he'd be the biggest one I worry about.
Yeah.
Losing.
But none of these guys are huge impact players at this point.
Right.
But talking about trades and stuff, because it's being talked about ad nauseum because the Oilers are out and there's nothing else to talk about, Jordan Eberle. So Darren Dreger comes out the other day and says he will be traded. And, all the stuff around that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he's worth? Do you think he moves? What should the Oilers be looking at in return? Like, just what are your just your general thoughts? Like, do you care?
Yeah, I care. I mean, he's a perennial 20-goal scorer. I think he's only in the short season he hasn't had 20 goals. You don't find those guys, right? And he's a right wing, which is also hard to find, right? A 20-goal scoring right winger. If you want to hang him for the playoff performance that he had, like if you're only looking at that, it's a fair assessment that he, doesn't fit. Mm-hmm. The only reason that I think Eberle has got to go is because, like, it's between him and Nuge, in my opinion, right? That
they have to free up money. We know
right,
that. So
right, they've got, Draisaitl's going to get paid this year. McDavid's going to get paid next year, and sorry, Eberle, there's just no room for your $6 million that, well, you're not even worth $6 million. You're worth a lot, but you're not worth $6 million. But again, I don't believe it'll be just like the Taylor Hall trade. It'll be Taylor Hall trade's little sister. Right? People won't get as freaked out about it, but there will be backlash when he is traded for who they get for him because it will not look sexy. We're not going to get a 20-goal scorer.
You said you were going to talk about the Taylor Hall trade anymore.
I know. Fuck.
This is on the internet. It's permanent, man.
Yeah, it's forever. Yeah, no, but and so is me talking about the Taylor Hall. Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to say that it's just... People are going to be...
But I want to make a point about that. So I kind of have to bring up Taylor Hall trade just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because one of the rumors out there is it's Eberle plus for Hamonic. Now, plus, I don't know. Is it
I don't know.
And Hamonic seems to me to be a lower, a few tiers below, but similar style of defenseman to Larson. And then you made the comparison between them.
Yeah, but see, to me, again, he's a 20-goal scorer. Like, I think for this year especially, if you can't get what works out to be a fair trade, like, I don't think you do not give him away. There's been people talking about me leaving him unprotected for the expansion draft. That is ridiculous. He is worth something.
I mean, if you're considering, if you've called around, Shirley's called around the league and found out, I'm not saying Eberle is worthless. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if Trelli got to the point, recalled around the other 29 teams, and found that there was no market for him, and he got offered a second-round draft pick, I'd rather take the second-round draft pick than exposing him.
Yeah.
Because Patrice Bergeron was a second-round pick,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not, you know what I mean? So I just think that it's just a dumb suggestion because you're going to be able to get something, and I am suggesting you could get more than a second-round draft pick for him.
Yeah.
You understand what I was saying?
Yes. Yeah.
But it would be stupid to just say, you know what, piss on it, just expose him.
Yeah.
So that's not happening.
No, he has worth, but I also feel like to me, I heard something on the radio today about what's his name there, that forward in Tampa Bay, the younger guy. He held out there for a while.
Drouin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some talk about that. Like, I think you need more than Drouin for Eberle.
Based on last season, no. I don't think I think that's a reach.
But there you go. Like to me, Eberle was a 20-goal scorer on the worst hockey team in the NHL.
Yeah, and he was a 20-goal scorer on this team, so that you can't.
I know
the records, but
if you look
at a $6 million cap hit,
if you look at right wingers, right, and the top scoring right wingers over the last 6-7 years, Jordan Eberle is on the top 10 hockey teams in the NHL.
I'll tell you this, and crucify me if you want. Yeah. If Drouin for Eberle is on the table, straight up, I would take it and run. You're saving money on the contract.
Yeah.
Drouin's 3 or 4 years younger. He's right in that nice age bubble with Draisaitl, and because Drouin, I can't remember when he's drafted. It doesn't matter. He's younger, and some of the goals that guy scored this season, where it was literally, I mean, the guy's got a ton of talent. He's gonna get you 20 goals too. If it saves you a few, save you some money, then
yeah,
I'm probably in the minority. I don't know, but if that was actually a trade that to be had, sure, I would do Eberle for Hamonic straight up.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that I think Eberle is. I don't think it's gonna be a sexy deal. I don't. We're not gonna get a 20-goal scorer back. It's gonna be a role player or defenseman or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody to replace Russell. Do you know what I mean? Because it doesn't sound like they're gonna sign him either.
Well, I think people need to understand part of the value coming back is saving that contract.
Yeah.
That contract space into the cap, right?
Yeah. But Drager is commenting about he's going to be traded because he knows that there are probably multiple offers on the table already. Like his sources have probably told him that Team X and Team Y and Team Z and you know what I mean.
His source is probably the agent. These guys all have team sources as well, right? There could be a guy on the Oilers telling them there's 15 offers on the table for Jordan Eberle right now. Well, no, and we just have to pick one, right? So, and that's probably the case if an insider like Drager is commenting about how he will be traded and guaranteeing it, it's gonna happen, right? Yeah. Do you have a preference on what they get back?
Well, again, I think they want value. He's still got 2 years. We don't really need his $6 million off the books until the year after this. Right. So, in my opinion, if the deal's not sweet enough,
yeah, I'm with you. Because if one thing that
you get another year out of him.
I can't remember where I was reading it, but I probably read it in several places actually, that Eberle's shooting percentage was low this year compared to the average. So
his average or the league median?
His career shooting percentage. So based on his career average, this average was low.
Yeah.
So
he missed his buddy.
Well, it's probably some of that, but he got demoted.
Yeah.
And it's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
He went from first line right wing to sometimes there, sometimes not, sometimes on the third line.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of given the shot to play first line minutes at the beginning, and he
No, but then he slowly,
Yeah.
he went down, and I think that it's an adjustment for, and even for Nugent Hopkins. I mean, think about it. I mean, you get drafted first overall. Eberle got drafted later in the first round. Doesn't matter, but he comes in as part of that savior group. And he's Captain Canada with the big overtime junior goals, and scores that amazing goal against the Flames to kind of kick things off.
first game of his career. Yeah.
Right? He's same with Nugent Hopkins, comes in as first overall. But these guys were the team up until this point, and then all of a sudden they're on some nights Nugent Hopkins is playing third line center.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an adjustment, I would think. I mean, I think that would really take a while to A, accept it, and then B, adapt to it, and being asked to play a different role, and you're not getting all the power play minutes you used to, and
Yeah.
that's significant. So whether they trade or not, it would depend on the return. But I can understand. I would agree with you that why not just wait?
Yeah.
Oh, you brought free agents. That was my next bullet
Yeah.
point. So that's a good. So with the Eberle trade or free agency, what do you think the Oilers need?
Well, there's going to be a hole or two to fill on defense, right? I don't think. I mean, Russell's a UFA. Doesn't sound like he's going to get any sort of. They're not. It doesn't sound like he's going to resign here, but maybe could. He's going to get paid, I think, right? Like I think he's going to get a little bit more money than he has. I heard a rumor about Patrick Eves actually that the Oilers might be interested in him with the exit of Eberle. I think he had 30 goals this year.
Yeah, he had a career year, but that's
Yeah.
always dangerous when a guy has a career year when he's 30-something.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, he only made $1 million last year, so he'll.
No, but coming off a 30-goal season, he's asking for, because when you look at the free agent class, I agree with you. I mean,
Yeah.
and sweet beard.
He's got a beard.
It's sweet beard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Well, here's a list. I pulled a list. I didn't pull the list. I was on the Call to Hockey today, and David Staples had a post on the June 5th where he listed some of the potential free agents that might be of interest. So here's the list. Justin Williams, right wing. Patrick Eves, you just mentioned. Derek Ryan, who's a center, and former Golden Bear. You should call it tomorrow, those games. Jerome McGinley, Brian Boyle, Cody Franson, Kulikov, Dwight King, and Brian Campbell. Anybody there stick out for you?
let me see. Well, Pat, like a lot of these guys are going to get paid. Like to me, Cody Franzen might be the one that sticks out to me the most. He's a right shot defenseman.
But he seems to keep signing places, and he doesn't really work out, then they don't re-sign him. So,
Well, but by doesn't really work out. What do you mean by that? Like,
well, he's supposed to be this offensive guy, but he's not really a defensive guy. But he's right-handed. Like, what the hell is he?
where did he play this year? Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, you literally have to ask that with him. Where did he play this year?
Yeah. You want to know something funny about Cody Franzen?
Sure.
My mom, like Cody Franzen's from Sycamoose, BC.
And you guys, you have a place out there.
Yeah, my parents own a couple of properties in Sycamoose, BC, and one of them, the properties, is like an apartment style condo, on a condo building that's like right down on the water, and they rent that property to Cody Franzen's grandmother.
So this is why you want to sign him.
Well, no, that's not what I said.
That's not how you run a hockey team, man. Just because somebody lives beside grandma and he's right-handed.
Yeah.
Well, right-handed living beside Dan's grandma, sign him up.
That has no merit.
Okay.
In this, but I guess all I'm like, they're going to be in need of a right defenseman, probably second pairing, right hand shot,
So would you replace
big shot.
Would you replace Chris Russell and Franson? Because that's really what you're doing.
Right. To be honest with you, when they signed Chris Russell, I knew about as much of him at that point as I do about Cody Franzen today, which isn't a lot.
Fair.
Okay, so yeah, Cody's grandma lives in my parents' property. That doesn't mean I've like been following.
But you've had tea with his grandma, so.
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I've never met his grandma.
No.
Let's
make it clear.
Yeah, that's right. I had another Sycamore story about a guy who was traded to the Oilers this year. We talked about it on this podcast, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Fontaine, yeah. So, hey, when you're in Sycamore, man, you run into these guys, right? And I kind of
marginal NHL players are all over the place.
That's right. Kind of a big deal, you know. Yeah. But to me, let's say Eberle stays, okay? Because and we got the right winger. Well, then on that list, you're looking for a right shot defenseman. Is what you're looking for.
Don't you need another centerman though? Somebody who can win faceoffs. And Derek Ryan, the former Golden Bear, would be the first Golden Bear forward to ever play for the Oilers. There's been 3 defensemen, but first Golden Bear forward. He was well over 50% in the dot. Little bit of offense, but I mean, really, you're signing him. I think his contract was only $600,000 or $700,000 last year. So I mean, you pay him $1 million. I don't know.
Well, I like it actually. Now that I didn't read your little bullet points on them here, where you know. But yeah, we definitely need somebody who can win a key draw. Definitely, we need that.
What about Jerome McGinley? We need a right shot, St. Albert boy. You know.
Listen.
If you go, I mean, let's say
he had a good year this year, so there's no reason why he couldn't come.
Let's say his agent calls up the Oilers and says, "Look, I'll do it for $1 million." Because I don't know how many calls he's going to get.
Yeah.
When guys get that old, you know, then they do that whole, you know, tryout agreement in September.
Yeah, PTO. Yeah.
Right, because we had what's his name who ended up going to Calgary, Versteeg.
Yeah.
Do that. So, you know, he says, like, I wouldn't, like, you guys are close to winning the cup. He still hasn't won one, right? He keeps trying to go places to win, and, you know, it just hasn't worked out for him. And he goes, you know what, screw it. I'm going to play 1 year, hometown, see if I can make a run, and I get to play with the, you know, this future superstar. Would you be opposed? I mean, he might spend some time in the press box, but on our depth chart right now, you know, depending on what you can get him for. I don't know. Maybe I'm just dreaming.
Sure. Like at $1 million. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. At $1 million, sure. Like, but I don't, I think he's going to want more money than that wherever he goes. I think he's still got some game, right? Like he had a relatively decent year this year. Made a bad decision to go to LA though. I guess he thought they were going to make a press to the playoffs, but
well, it's like the 1 year he plays in Pittsburgh, they don't win. So you go, no, that was Hossa. Never mind. I was thinking Hossa.
Yeah, Hossa was in the Stanley Cup final like 4 years in a row and won it once, I think. Yeah.
And he kept bouncing from the. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and then now that he's in Chicago, he's won it a bunch of times. But like it was. I think it was Detroit first. Or no, it was Pittsburgh first.
And then Detroit. But then they won on the opposite years.
Yeah. And then
they went, I'll just sign with Chicago.
Yeah. Anyway, no, listen. I think you're right. They need a face-off guy. Depending on if they trade Eberle, it'll depend. Like I feel like they're gonna do that before free agency because then they'll know what they need. Because I feel like if they trade Eberle, they're gonna get a defenseman and probably be keen in on a right shot defenseman, right? Because I think that's why the Travis Hamonic rumor comes up and whatever, right? But so it'll depend there, but one of the things that they're probably not going to be able to get addressed with an Eberle trade is a third or fourth line center that can win a draw, right? Because that's not enough to get you Eberle, I don't think.
No.
Right? So
does Brian Boyle do anything for you?
Sure, why not?
Not another center.
He can win a draw, can he?
Now, a different type of free agency. The Oilers are apparently in the running for Spencer Fu. I didn't know who he was until I read the thing anyway. So
who?
Spencer Fu. You can look it up on HockeyDB. Apparently, he's one of the hot college free this year.
Okay.
I like the college free agent route simply because all it costs you is money, right?
Yeah.
And they have to sign on. Most of these kids have to sign on entry level deal anyway. I know it didn't work out with Justin Solch, but you actually can't criticize the signing because he's done in the right role. He's been okay, very good fit,
Phenomenal.
right? And then we've got Benning and Kajula. Like no draft pick, no nothing. You convinced them, and now that Edmonton's seeming to be more of a hot spot for these guys, apparently I think is he? I don't. We might have to look him up. I don't know if he shoots right or not, but I know he's a forward. And
What's his name?
Spencer Foo, Foo.
Like, what you looking at, Foo?
Yeah, kind of like the Mr. T. Yeah.
He's from Edmonton.
Oh, he's from Edmonton. Okay.
Played for the Bonneville Pontiacs. Wow.
40-goal sniper for the old Bonneville Pontiacs.
Yeah.
And look at his last season in NCAA: 62 points in 38 games.
Wow. Yeah, he's a right winger. Shoots right. 23 years old. So like right in that Kajula wheelhouse, right? Yeah.
I mean, and so say he does sign with us and he doesn't end up working out. So what?
Yeah.
Right? What do you think?
You didn't burn a draft pick. You didn't burn anything.
You didn't have to trade a player for him. You just signed him. So what do you think of the college free agency thing?
Well, like you said, it's worked out pretty good so far. I mean, these are kids that, played in the AJHL or the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League or the US Hockey League, right? The USHL, these second-tier junior leagues that develop while they're in college and have great years, right? So and end up being great professionals. So good on them. Good on them for chasing their dream even when they were, kind of sent down a path that was kind of the road less traveled, right? But that NCAA is starting to become quite the thing, right? It used to be, it used to take quite the backseat to the WHL, and I mean now.
On the NCAA note, I'm going to throw another plug in for the Golden Bears. They go down and play an NCAA team every preseason.
Yeah. And
it's normally close. They've won some, they've lost some. So if you want to get an idea of what kind of level of hockey you're watching, that's what it is. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, he played for Union College. To be honest, I've never really heard of them.
There are so many colleges and universities in the United States.
Yeah. Doesn't look like that gave him any playoff time at all over there. Like it looks like Union College is not so hot. But anyway, regardless, it looks like he's had a great couple of years, and if he signs here, it would be obviously he's a hometown kid. So
now, if any of the listeners out there have noticed, I do read I'm pretty sure the reason why I started wanting to talk about this is because there was probably a post on the Cult of Hockey about it. I do read a lot of the Cult of Hockey, so if you notice them talk around similar themes, it's because I read it every morning. I think they do a great job over there, and I'm not at all trying to steal it. It's just they bring up good points to talk about. So, if you don't know how to get the code, go to the Cult of Hockey, go to the Edmonton Journal website, and then go under sports, and you'll see a drop-down menu for the Cult of Hockey. Anyway, Danny, the playoffs now. Are you still watching it?
I didn't watch much of the third round, the conference finals. I watched both of the clincher games because, I don't know, I guess I get a kick out of are they going to touch the trophy? Are they not going to touch the trophy?
Did they?
Right? Pittsburgh did, which they did last year. Like, they didn't do much of a celebration or a picture or anything. They just kind of, the whole team gathers around and takes the picture at the trophy. Crosby picks it up and takes it to the dressing room. And the one thing I mentioned to my wife when we were watching it, they got these hats now, Western Conference champions and Eastern Conference champions. I think that's kind of lame, right? Like, like Nashville didn't touch the trophy. right? They left it there. Mike Fisher came out. He was in his suit. He didn't play in that game. He came out and, had the hat on, but wouldn't touch the trophy.
I am the least superstitious guy ever.
Well, these guys, hockey players are ridiculously superstitious.
And it's so stupid.
Right? But anyway, regardless, and I said to my wife, I'm not a big fan of them wearing these hats, but I wouldn't do like around the rink, oh yeah, we won with the trophy over your head or anything, but I feel like I would do what Crosby did, and I would just get the team, gather around, let's take a picture with Bill Daly or whoever they had out there, and then let's take the trophy to the dressing room, and we got work to do, right? And she said to me that a bunch of years ago that I was going on about how I would never touch it, and I don't really remember that, but
I wouldn't touch the Stanley Cup, and I'll tell you why.
Well, see, and
Well, let me tell you why first.
yeah.
I guarantee you put that thing under black light, it's going to be scary. Right?
Well,
Players get it alone for the day, all liquored
Yeah.
up. They look at their wife and like, let's do some crazy stuff with this thing.
when we went to
Latex gloves. That's what you do when you go there.
when we went to the Hockey Hall of Fame, like it's there for you. You can touch it.
I'm defiling the cup to you right now. Is this you kind of mad at me?
Well, no, I think it's a little ridiculous that, like, they polish that thing all the time. So it's, yeah. Anyway, like, I wouldn't touch it in 4 or 5 days after they have their party with it.
This is
Right.
reminding me of our Google text message conversation from the other day.
Yeah.
I think it's going down the same wormhole.
Yeah.
With me out wearing the tinfoil hat, and you'd be like, "What are you talking about?" So
Yeah.
we'll just move on.
No, but I wouldn't touch this. Like, when we were at the Hockey Hall of Fame, I wouldn't touch it. Kelly's like, why won't you touch it? Why don't you put your arm around it or whatever? I'm like, well, I didn't earn it. Like, I feel like that cup, like, the only people who should rightfully be able to pick it up or whatever are the people who have gone through the 2 months of hell to win it, right? Anyway, so, yeah, I guess I've changed I guess I used to be superstitious, but now I'm not, I guess. Because she reminded me that years ago, I wouldn't have taken the Clarence Campbell trophy. And this year I said, I would just take it. So, yeah. Anyway, but I've been watching the finals, which I do every year.
Yeah.
So, and Nashville is dominating and has the entire series. Like,
Do you think they're gonna win?
Yeah, I do. They lost the first 2 games, and they shouldn't have.
So what do you think happened there? Like, how did Nashville go from a bubble playoff team to Stanley Cup?
They are just all in. Like, they are. I didn't watch any of their series at all up until this one, and I felt the same way. They're going to lose eventually, and I'm like, Anaheim's going to kill them, and if the Oilers would have played them, the Oilers would have killed them, and all this. But I don't know about that. Like they are aggressive. They hit everything that moves, and they're quick, and their crowd is. I mean, they're talking a lot about the crowd, and being an Edmonton fan, knowing what our crowd is pretty good, but their crowd is just next level type, right? And I think that plays a lot into it for the emotion of the team that they get.
One of the VPs that I work with, he's one of our suppliers. I went to an Ottawa Senators game with him. I watched Edmonton and Tampa with him. I don't know if it was preseason. It was either September or October. So it might have been preseason. It might not have been. I don't know. And he's from Nashville. And his wife's company has a box. And he wasn't a hockey fan. And they started going to the games. They started learning the game. And he said it's a madhouse in there. And he said the fans of what they knew of him were pretty excited to get Subban. So I'm not based on what he had told me. I'm not surprised that it's as energetic as some of the other U.S. markets you see on TV. Like I noticed when we were playing Anaheim, there's empty seats.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't very many empty seats when the Oilers were playing them because the Oiler fans were buying 3,000 and 4,000 or 5,000 tickets, right? Like there's a lot of Oiler fans making the trek to Anaheim. But when they were playing Nashville, like I said, I wasn't really watching many of the games, but I'd see on Twitter like pictures of sections in the lower bowl and the upper bowl literally empty in the middle of the second period or whatever. Like people were just not going to the game, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and Nashville's selling out and does in regular season, but they do standing ovations during the TV timeouts. It's just a different atmosphere. A guy on the radio the other day was from Nashville said, it's kind of a combination between college football and like soccer, because they get these chants going. Like they do this one chant about the goalie, and I couldn't do it word for word, but like it's kind of a song that they sing, and it's like it goes like, so right now it's Murray, so they're like, "Hey Murray, that was all your fault. You suck." And they like sing this over and over again after he gets scored on, right? And it's like this whole like kind of like song kind of chant type thing, right? And it
is Music City, right?
Right, but you can it comes through on TV. Like you can hear exactly what they're saying. If you're paying attention to it, you'll hear it. But it's kind of funny, and that like how these things just like kind of snowball in a town like that. I guess the whatever their guys, the radio announcer or the announcer in the building's name is, like we'll just say his name's John. Okay, when he comes on and says last minute of play in the first period, the entire crowd chants, "Thank you, John." Like it's just this thing like that, and just
I don't. But that section where all the bars and stuff are, if they win it, man, that would be crazy.
Yeah. Good on them.
One question for you, and maybe I'm just being a nervous Nelly. I don't know, but I haven't loved the officiating in the playoffs, and I really find that the hockey in general. And I know this has been talked about elsewhere, but I'm one of the people that it irritates. So it really starting to remind me, the clutch and grab stuff is really starting to come back in a big way, and I can't tell what rule book. Yeah. And this is not just with the Oilers. I'm just talking in general.
It's the playoffs in general. It's happening in the final right now. They had another goaltender interference call that was controversial, where Mike Murray there got Matt Murray got kind of hit in the head, and they called it a goal anyway. And they've had a couple of offside goals, calls that were controversial, come back or not come back, and in the finals, right? And it's starting to get ridiculous. It really is. It isn't just the penalties, but it's these reviews on the.
Well, then Bettman gets up and says, "Oh, everything's great. We love the way it's." Yeah. Pull your head out of your backside.
Well, he has to say that.
Yeah, I know that, but still, right. No. I'll ask you this question because I know you're a big NFL guy and I'm not. So. Mm-hmm. How would you compare the level and competency of the officiating between the two leagues? Like the biggest sports franchise in North America, if not the world, I don't know how it compares to FIFA in the NFL. Yeah. And then versus NHL officiating.
I would say it's on par.
Oh, so there's some bad.
You bet. There's some bad calls in the NFL. Their review situation
But are they
different.
consistent about the way they call the rule book? That's really where I was going.
Yeah, for sure they are.
So that's what irritates me about because there's no consistency. Yeah. Sometimes a hook's not a hook. Sometimes a slash not a slash. Sometimes a guy has. Sometimes I don't know if it was Call to Hockey or Edmonton Journal or Oilers Nation or the Oilers Rig. I don't remember what site I read it on, or maybe it was It doesn't matter. Yeah. They were saying that on average, a guy will have to slash somebody 3 times before the ref's arm will go up in the air. Yeah. Well, he technically the slash, the first one was a slash.
Yeah.
The second one was a slash. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what I've never understood, and no one's ever been able to explain it to me succinctly, and I don't think anybody could.
Yeah.
There's all this emotion and code and all this BS wrapped into it, but a slash is a slash, hook's a hook. Like, it should just be called.
See, and this is North American hockey that we're talking about, right? Like, watch a European ref hockey game. That stuff doesn't happen, right? Like it.
No, when we play with European refs, the Canadian fans complain because
Right.
they just call the rule book.
Right.
Let them play. Like
Right,
the whole narrative flips on its head.
That's right. So, but I think the volume is turned up in the playoffs in that regard, that they let more go in the playoffs. And I think that's the biggest issue, is that they play 82 games where, yeah, they let a little bit go, but a lot of stuff is called. And then all of a sudden they get to the playoffs, and all of a sudden it seems like the rules change a little bit, right?
No, they totally do.
Yeah.
But they change per player.
Right. Well,
Like, I don't know what Getzlaf has on the director of NHL officiating.
yeah.
I don't know if he's got a dick pic or if he's got,
Yeah. Well, see, and that I think you kind of answered your own question, right? Is that on average it takes 3 slashes. Well, Getzlaf knows that. He's smart enough to know that. It's one of his skill sets of knowing that and knowing where that edge is, and that he just doesn't.
Don't get me wrong, I only hate Getzlaf because he's on. If he was for
Right.
the Oilers, I'd love him all day long.
Right, but that's the thing with Getzlaf that we noticed in a 7-game series, is that he cheats, but he cheats.
He's good at it.
Only enough. He's good at cheating that he doesn't get caught, right?
And he's a veteran, so he gets more leeway.
Right, and he probably speaks to all the referees with respect and whatever else, and that's probably part of it, right?
I get all that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't. And in the NFL, officiating is fairly consistent. There are only a few discretionary calls in the NFL, first of all, right? Like holding, for instance. And for those that don't know football, most of you do, but the offensive players are not allowed to grasp onto a defensive player at all. Like, you're not allowed to grab the jersey, you're not allowed to grab onto his arm, you're not allowed to hook his arm, you're not allowed to hook your arm around his waist.
I played some line. It's
Right. Yeah, so but the defense of guys can actually,
they can kick you in the nuts.
well they can grab onto the ball carrier.
That's
right?
just how it feels. Yeah.
Right. But in the NFL, there could literally be a holding call on every play.
Yeah.
Right? Literally. Like, if you watched every player individually, at least one of those linemen is holding. So there's a discretionary call. And then there's pass interference, which is also discretionary. But the cool thing about the pass interference discretionary call is it's reviewed. But when they review it, it isn't the guy who made the call. Well, usually it's not the guy who made the call who is tasked with overturning it. Right? It's the head referee. Now, the head referee doesn't usually make these calls, right? It's the linesman, because, there's like 8 officials on an NFL field, right? So what happens is the head, if there's a challenge, because you can challenge a pass interference, throw a little red flag out onto the field, and it kind of works in the same premise that if you're right, then they overturn the call. If you're wrong, you lose the timeout, and then you're done. You don't get another one. If you're right, you get an opportunity to make another challenge, right? Mm-hmm. But the guy gets under the hood. There's like a probably about a 13 or 15 inch TV. Mm-hmm. He gets under a hood and goes in and watches. The head referee puts on a headset. He's talking to the guys upstairs who are also watching the same thing. And between the two, make the decision to either overturn the call or the call on the field. Well, they actually have 3 terminologies. The call is overruled. So, we're changing our call. The call is confirmed. So they had video evidence that, yes, that what we called was, or the call on the field stands, which means that they didn't have enough evidence to overturn it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the video. I mean, I don't mind video for review, but some of the interpretations and
But the issue that I have with the NHL's video review is twofold. In the NFL, every time there's a scoring play, it is automatically reviewed by the team upstairs. Automatically. Nobody has to challenge it. It is automatically reviewed. Right? So why wouldn't that be the same case in the NHL? That every time a goal is scored, they look and they go, was there an offside?
Probably because it makes sense.
Right? Or was there goaltender interference? They don't get the referee involved because that referee has an ego. And he wanted to be right when he made the initial call. And any chance he has to validate that he was right, he's going to take that. There are very few people out there that get to the highest level of their spot that are willing to, constantly be reminded how you screwed up. Do you know what I mean? Like that just, to me, that doesn't, there's an ego involved there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So they need to take that, and then there's some other issues with the offside and the 1 foot in the air, and you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's just another ridiculous thing that the NHL has done that, how is 1 foot in the air more of a tactical advantage than not? When it comes to offside, you know what I mean?
Some of it's really ticky-tack.
So it becomes discretionary, and that's what they gotta. When I said that the refereeing in the NFL and the NHL are fairly similar, in that they're the best referees in the world, and both games are fast and they miss stuff. And I get it, you know what I mean? I get that. Where I start to get really rattled is when they all of a sudden seem to change the rules mid-season, mid-game, mid-whatever, and the discretionary crap that's being reviewed. I feel like that is it. I don't know if did we talk about the Game 5 goal already? Yeah. Okay. Because I believe that guy didn't even give it an opportunity, that he had something in mind to look at, right? And it wasn't Kessler holding down Talbot's pad.
Well, I think they pointed it out in the panel that, he was focusing just on this one area.
Right.
Right. When at the end of the day, my complaint about the officiating is I think the NHL needs to understand. For me as a fan, and I might be in the minority, but I don't think that I am. I want to see the Connor McDavid, John Tavares, Steve Stamkos,
Sidney Crosby,
Austin Matthews. Yeah. I want to see these guys display those all world skills, because that's the stuff the average guy can't do.
Yeah.
What the average guy can do is water ski on somebody and just get that hook into his pads.
Yeah.
And hook and slash and just be a complete meathead, right?
Yeah.
Now, the meatheads in the NHL may be far faster and far stronger, but it doesn't take any skill. They haven't developed a skill that I couldn't develop.
Yeah.
Right? Where what Connor McDavid can do at speed just blows me out of, that to me is worth
the price of admission. Yeah.
Paying for cable, paying for, and I think they need to understand that. And if they want to grow the game, those are the players that need to shine, and this other garbage. Mm-hmm. A hook's a hook, slash a slash. Just get it out. That's, I don't know.
No, you got a great point. I do think they need to revamp a bunch of things that, next year they need to make it clear to the officials that the rules in the regular season should be no different than the rules in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I think they do need to tweak that video review, because I think it's just a little too controversial right now. They need to take certain aspects of it out. They need to, they either need to get rid of it altogether, or they need to do a tweak where they take the ego out of it. They've got the linesman deciding if it was an offside, and they got the ref who made the call deciding if he made the right call on a goaltender interference already. You know, like to me, it screams.
There's so many holes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I think they need an independent person that's not on the ice to say, no, he got it wrong. Right? And
just suck it up. I mean,
right.
Because you said it. It moves so fast.
Right.
These guys are going to make mistakes.
Right. And why does it need to be a challenge? Why can't it just be? I mean,
I think they threw that crap in because they want to be like, it's an NFL thing. And,
right, but it cost the Oilers this year because in the playoffs, I believe, because they challenged a call early in the game, and I can't remember the exact situation, but they challenged a call early in the game and they lost the call, and then they lost a game on a goal that was clearly offside.
That was later in the season, yeah.
Right, or was it later in the season, or I think it was in the playoffs. It might have been against San Jose.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Or it might even been against Anaheim, actually. But anyway, regardless, you know,
somebody's out there going, man, these guys are idiots.
Right? Yeah, totally. But it cost them, right? And why can't it just be this independent guy upstairs? There's a guy watching for offsides, and there's a guy watching for goaltender interference. And if there is one, and there's a goal scored, if there's not a goal scored, then it doesn't matter, right? But if there is a goal scored, that they flip a switch and it tells the referee, no, that wasn't a goal. They were offside on the entry, or they were, you know what I mean? Like, that just takes everybody out of it.
Yeah, it slows the flow down. But let's switch gears. We've probably done 50 minutes on officiating, so
yeah.
If people haven't shut it off,
yeah. Well, you're probably gonna have to edit a whole bunch of this crap.
Oh no, it's gonna be free as a bird. Right?
Yeah.
Now, last little segment here. Just a quick question for you. I don't know if it's quick or not. Between now and July 5th, what do you want to see happen?
Well, I want to see them get a little bit better, right? Like, I think, maybe they're going to trade Jordan Eberle. I don't know that automatically gets the team better. I think they got to do a little bit more. Yeah, I just want to see them making moves to improve.
Yeah, I want somebody who can win a draw. I can go either way on the Eberle.
That makes them better.
And if they have that spot, Russell's spot on the second pair, obviously it's a concern, but also figuring out who's going to fill in for Sekera. Can they do that internally? I mean, in all likelihood, they've got to fill it internally just because of cap. But I mean, if there's I don't know. I haven't looked down the list long enough to see if there's.
How long is he out for?
I think it's Christmas or January.
Really? Eh?
Well, was it ACL or MCL? It's a knee, so it's. I think that it was 5 months, or whatever that works out to be. So those are my things. Probably the next time why don't we should shoot to do one of these like July 1 or 2.
Around July 5th.
Yeah, around July 5th. Because it's kind of hard to do a weekly Oilers thing when they're not playing hockey.
Yeah.
And you can only talk about trading Jordan Eberle and Hull versus Larson so many times where you look at the exhaust pipe on the old minivan and you think, just start her up, buddy. I'm taking a deep breath.
Right on. Yeah, no, sounds good. We'll get together here a little later on in the summer and talk about what they've done. By that time, we'll have a new Stanley Cup champion. The awards will have happened.
So you got
Free
Nashville.
agency.
You got Nashville to win.
Yeah, I think they're going to win. Yeah.
I picked Pittsburgh at the beginning of the playoffs when we did one of these.
Yeah.
So I guess I have to stick with them now, but it doesn't sound like it's going very good. So.
Well, I mean, the series is 2-2, so it could go anywhere, and it's, advantage Pittsburgh with 2 home games left. But just based on the first 4 games, man, Nashville has been all over them. They lost the first 2 games because their goalie didn't show up, but now he's back because he's had 2 excellent games. So whatever was going on with him in the first 2 games, nerves or what, I don't know, but he's back now, and it doesn't look good for Pittsburgh. And I hate to say that because, and you want to hear something hilarious about hockey pools and whatever else. I have 4 Pittsburgh guys, okay? And I was leading to start the Stanley Cup Finals by 9 points. And the next closest guy to me has 7 Nashville guys, But one of them is Johansson, so he's not playing. I am now 2 points behind after 4 games.
I gotta tell you, this is my best hockey pool story. It was it 87 or 88? Anyway, we were playing Boston in the final. And I got picked so I was in grade 5 or 6.
Impressive that you were doing pools when you were in elementary school.
This is in northern Alberta. This is in Donley, Alberta, which is like, I don't know, an hour outside of Peace River. It's one of those places like, corner gas on, well, there's the Donley corner, and there's a gas station there.
Yeah.
So I got picked as our team's guy to go and pick the players, right? Because our teacher, it was supposed to be like a teacher's pool, but our teacher didn't know anything about hockey. She's like, well, everybody vote for me to have somebody represent us. They all pick me. So anyway, so I go and do the draft. And there's a bunch of these smart-ass teachers, all guys, that weren't picking any Oilers, and they weren't picking any Boston Bruins. So all I had was Bruins and Oilers. Most of these other guys had no players left by the time the final started. So the gap just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger because nobody had anybody playing but me.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that story because I was like, what are you, 10, 11, something like that?
Yeah.
And I was just picking the Oilers because, Oilers, right?
But in 88, nobody was picking Oilers?
It was in that era when people were starting to turn on Gretzky. He'd become so good and so like that, he's like not tough, he's not this, he's not that. And they're just like there's kind of he almost became like an easy target. I don't think for hardcore Oilers fans, but like when a bunch of guys get in a room and they're like and it becomes like groupthink.
Yeah.
And they're like,
The Oilers are going to lose to Calgary in the first round.
Yeah, they're not very tough because then they lost in. Yeah, that's right. It was 87 because they lost in 86.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. So anyway. But anyway, Dan.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
I have one thing to talk about.
Okay.
Quick. So they just recently released the top 10 NHL hockey teams of all time.
88 Oilers. Or is it the 87 one?
No, the 85 Oilers won. They were number 1. Which to me isn't even their best team, but this was clearly based on the top 10 best Stanley Cup winning teams. Okay, because every team in the top 10 won the Stanley Cup the year that they won, like the year that they were picked. The Oilers had 4 teams in the top 10. 4 teams in the top 10.
Yeah, and that will get you some backlash. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
you got a defenseman scoring almost 50 goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Right on, man.
Daniel, we'll see you around June 2nd.
Yeah, or July.
Oh, July 2nd. Yeah, well, I guess I can always fire up the DeLorean, right? Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah.